So last week we started Ethics of the Fathers. So we're going to continue with the second chapter, even though this week it's going to be a fourth chapter. But since we started only in the first chapter last week, we're going to continue. So let's start. Remember, there's a rule when it comes to Ethics of the Fathers. The rule is, Ethics of the Fathers is not law. It's either beyond the letter of the law, or it's a way to behave. Ethics. But Jewish ethics obviously come from God. And we also have, if it looks like a law, like a regular law, we didn't understand it. Because that's what we need Shulchan Aruch for, Book of Laws, we have for that. Ethics of the Father is something else. So all these laws in Ethics of the Father that sounds like regular law, that's not laws. As we're going to see today. Let's start. Mishnah 1. Rabbi says, Eizuhi derech yeshara sheyavor la'adam. Which is a straight path that one should choose? And he answers, Kol shehi tiferet le'osea, whichever way it is good to that who does it, v'tiferet lo min ha'adam, and is also praised by the people because of it. What it means, I'm not sure. We're going to find out soon. And then he continues, Vehevi zahir b'mitzvah kala kev'chamura. You have to be careful in a simple mitzvah, in an easy mitzvah, in a minor mitzvah, just like in a strict one, just like in a major one. Why? She'en ata yodea matan scharan shel mitzvot, because we don't know the rewards of commandments. We might think this is more important, that is more important. You don't know. It's possible that the one you think is lesser is more reward than the one that you think is more. By the way, there are no rewards mentioned in the Torah for commandments, except two. Honoring your parents and sending the burden off. These two commandments, it mentions specifically, one is going to merit a long life. But all the other commandments, there's no mention at all. So there's no way for us to know which one is more important. We always assume, but it's just human assumption. God says so, everything is important. Don't make distinctions between more and less. So, if you don't know the value, now you're going to have a problem. How are you going to have motivation to battle against your evil inclination in some particular commandments? Since you might think, hey, it's unimportant. So it says, you do know one thing. What do you know? Individually, it depends on the person. That's what we do know. On some things. For example, Heve mechashev hefsed mitzvah keneged schara. When you are about to not do a particular commandment, right? You should think, what is the reward for that commandment? Since you don't know the reward, how much more so you should do it? Don't miss it out. If a person is going to miss out a specific commandment because he's lazy, you should make a calculation. I don't know what the reward is going to be for the commandment. It's stupid to miss out. Let's go and do it. That's one thing. V'schar avera keneged cheseda. What about the opposite? Maybe he has a desire to sin, some particular sin. So he should remind himself, since he doesn't know what the punishment is for the sin, and he has a big desire, the punishment might also be big. You don't know. So therefore, refrain. And the last things that he's going to say, Histakel b'shlosha dvarim, look at three things, ve'i et haba l'yedei avera, and you're not going to come to sin. What are the three things one should look at? Da ma lemala mimcha, know who is above you. What does it mean, who is above you? Ayin roa, there's an eye that sees. God always sees what you're doing. Ozen shomat, and there's an ear that hears. Over here it means it knows the reasoning. You cannot tell them it was too hard for me, or it was this. He knows exactly how hard it was, how hard it wasn't, the sin, whatever it is. He understands exactly your level, what you should have done and you shouldn't have done. And one more thing you should look at, וכל מעשיך בספר נכתבים. And all your deeds are going to be written in the book. So after 120, when we all go up to heaven, we'll have to answer for everything. There's not going to be some things that we're not going to have to answer for. Everything one has to answer for. Okay. We're going to be concentrating on the first part of the Mishnah. The part that it says, let's look at the Bartanura. The Bartanura, the commentary is going to describe the part that we're going to be concentrating on. So let's read it. The first Rabbi says, Sheyavor sheivor. It says which path a person should choose for himself. Should he choose for himself the path, a certain path to the right or to the left? In other words, a path that's good for him or a path that's good for the people around him. How are you doing? So we're on page number 1, halfway through the page. So he says, which path you take? Kol shehi tiferet leosea. You should take a path that praises the person, that uplifts yourself. We're going to discuss which path it is soon. Vetiferet lo min ha'adam. And a path that you're going to be praised by people. Not just a path that you're going to be proud of, a path that people around you are going to benefit from, that they're going to praise you from. Okay? Let's continue. Sheyeh noach lo, that it's going to be good for him. V'yeh nochim bnei adam mimeno. And also the people around him are also going to be benefited from it. Not just him. וזה יהיה כשילך בכל המידות בדרך האמצעי. And this is going to be when he's going to go with all the attributes in the middle path, or in the golden path. ולא יטה לאחד משני הקצוות. Not to tilt to one of the two extremes. We're going to give an example for that. שאם הוא כלי ביותר, that if a person is a miser, he keeps all the money for himself, יש תפארת לו, it's good for him. Why is it good for him? שאוסף ממון הרבה, he becomes rich. אבל אין בני אדם מפארים אותו במידה זו, but nobody around him gets any benefit from it. People do not praise him. So what? The money is for yourself, you don't do anything with it. It's only for you. ואם הוא מפזר יותר מן הראוי, let's do the other one. A person that gives most of his money away, right? בני אדם מקבלים ומפארים אותו, everybody praises him. Oh, this is a great guy. It's the best guy in the world. אבל אינו תפארת לעושיה. But it's not benefiting him. ואין נוח לו, it's not good for him. Why? שהוא בא לידי עניות, he might come into lose his money בשביל כך, because of that. אבל מידת הנדיבות היא שאמצעית בין הכילות והפיזות. So you have to go in the middle. In between being a miser and in between being a spender. Right in between. היא תפארת לעושיה. This is good for the one who does it. That what? Page number 2. ששומר את ממונו, that he keeps his money, ואינו מפזר יותר מן הראוי. He doesn't spend more than necessary. ותפארת לו מן האדם, and then it's good both for people around him, שבני אדם מפארים אותו, that the people praise him, שנותן כמה שראוי לו לתת, because he gives the right amount. וכן הדין בכל שאר המידות. And this is the rule when it comes to all other attributes. Okay? And again, the Bartanura explained the second part of the Mishnah, שאין אתה יודע מתן שכרם של מצוות, we don't know the reward of commandments, לא נתפרש בתורה, שכר המקיים מצוות עושה, ולא נשם ותל מס אותם. The positive commandment, we don't know the reward, nor do we know what the punishment is if we don't do them. והביא מחשב הפסד מצווה. And always calculate the loss of a mitzvah. מה שאתה מפסיד מסחורתך וממונך, מפני עסק המצווה. A person is opening his business, right? And he needs to daven mincha. He's the only one in the shop. Right? There's people coming. People are standing in line. They want to buy. So he's making a calculation. I can't daven mincha now. If I daven mincha now, you know what's going to happen? I'm going to lose. Who knows? Maybe $500-600, maybe more. Maybe business is coming in for a big amount of money. So it says, what should you do? So you have to, as much as money as you would have lost, that's as much money that you're going to be rewarded for the mitzvah. The lack of money that comes in, that's how you make the calculation. So do it against the reward that's going to come to it in the world to come. Then you should know 100% something for sure. The reward is for sure going to be more than the loss. So there's always beneficial to do the mitzvah than to worry about the loss, if what's going to happen if I go to the mitzvah. V'schar avera, and the opposite, and the reward for a sin, you see something which is very desirable, which is not allowed to touch, or to eat, or to do whatever with. Hana'ah she'ata ne'eneh be'avara, all the pleasure that one gets in the sin, keneged hefsed she'atid lavo lecha ממנה. Calculate the punishment, the loss that is going to come for it in the world to come. Okay. So we said already, we mentioned in the beginning, that Ethics of the Father is a book of laws. It's not a book of laws, sorry. It's a book of ethics. So therefore, what we just said, the path of the middle doesn't make sense at all. And I'll tell you why. Let's start in the beginning, page number 2. The middle of page number 2. וצריך להבין, here comes the question, we need to understand. מהי השאלה איזוהי דרך ישרה? I don't understand the question. Rabbi is asking the question, which is the true path? Which is the straight path? Ask any 17-year-old, ask any 15-year-old who's learning in yeshiva, which is the straight path that a person should take? What is he going to tell you? Which is the straight path? He's going to tell you simple. You open Shulchan Aruch, you open the Book of Laws, and you do what God says. What do you mean straight path? God told us what to do. Open the book and see what to do. תסתכל בשולחן ערוך, look in the Book of Laws, Baruch Hashem, thank God we have a Book of Laws called Shulchan Aruch. It tells you exactly what you have to do. What's straight, what not straight. It's got nothing to do with straight, not straight. You follow the laws. ומיד תדע מה עליך לעשות. And immediately you should know what you should do. Right? So the whole question of Rabbi, which is the straight path, from the beginning doesn't make sense. It's ethics. In other words, we don't even understand what Rabbi is trying to tell you. Obviously, Rabbi is not trying to tell you how to behave. Because if you want to know how to behave, you open the Shulchan Aruch. That's how you behave. So what is it trying to tell you? Over here, it says, go in the middle way. So let's see. ויותר תמוה. The Rebbe asks even a further question, doesn't make sense. המשנה עונה, המשנה עונה, the Mishnah answers. So there's a question, which is the straight path? And then the Mishnah answers. Ethics, again, not laws. כל שהיא תופארת לעושיה, everything that is praised to the one who does it, ותפארת לו מן האדם, and the people around him praise him. זאת אומרת, so listen to what it means. שבכדי שהאדם ידע מהי הדרך הישרה, if you want to know what's the straight way, what do you have to do? עליו לחשוב מה נראה לו יפה, you have to think what's good for me, ומה יאמרו עליו אנשים אחרים, but you also have to think what other people are going to think about what you're doing. That's what you have to think about. If you say the right thing and other people are not going to approve it, according to this is wrong. So if you're not going to go in the streets right now and say free, free Palestine and put it on your Facebook, you're wrong because you're not getting approval from the people around you according to this. What do you mean approval? Who cares what the people think? You do the right thing, whether you like it, whether you don't like it. What do you mean? The right thing is the right thing. The whole thing doesn't make sense. ולפי זה יחליט מה הדרך הנכונה? According to the opinion of the guys around him, he's going to decide what's the true way? What kind of way to behave is this? האם אלו דרכי החסידות? Are those the decisions that a chassid should make? להחליט לפי מה שאנשים יאמרו עליו? I'm going to decide what's true, what's not true, according to what people are going to think about me? If I say man is a man and woman is a woman, today people are going to think that I am hateful, that I am, what's the words they give people like this? Transphobic. They're going to call me transphobic. So I should care? And now I should call a woman man and man woman because what? Because people are going to accept me? What is that got to do with it? You say the truth because the truth is the truth. I don't understand the whole Mishnah. The whole answer, the whole question. What is going on over here? So let's try to understand. Obviously, that's not what Rabbi is saying. So if he's not saying that, what is he saying? Because it sounds like he's saying that. Okay? והביאור בזה, we're on page number 3. The explanation of this. כששואלים, when we ask, איזו היא דרך ישרה שיבוא לו אדם, which is the straight path, the middle path, the right path that a person should take, מובן מאליו, it's obvious שלא מדובר על ברירה. We're not talking about a path באם לקיים תורה ומצוות או לא. If to do Torah and mitzvahs or not. Torah and mitzvahs you have to do no matter what. That's not what the question is. Torah and mitzvahs you have to do the right thing. Do not lie. You know what do not lie means? One is not allowed to lie, right? What does do not lie mean? Do not lie mean don't tell a woman that he's a man and don't tell a man that he's a woman. It's a mitzvah from the Torah. That you don't ask people around if I should lie or not. God expects you to tell the truth. You cannot tell lies. התורה כבר ציוותה ובחרת בחיים. For this, the Torah already commanded you, choose the right path. Choose the life, which is Torah. That you don't have an option. It's not up to you. It's not up to the people around you. It's what God said. השאלה היא, the question is, when it comes to Torah, sometimes there are two ways. When it comes to Torah, many times there are two ways. And the question then, when regarding to the Torah is, which way should I go? Should I go this way and this way? And then we're going to have an answer. Which way should you go when it comes to the Torah? What does it mean, middle? Compromise between the two. Okay, let's see. What does it mean? השאלה איך לבחור נכון בין כמה שיטות בשמירת התורה ומצוות. When we have two opinions when it comes to Torah and mitzvahs, the question is which path should you take? יש דרך שהיא דרך הישרה. Now any path is correct. Both paths might be correct, 100% correct. The question is not which one is correct, they're both correct. The question is which is the straight way, which is the golden way amongst those two. And we're going to see sometimes you can just choose one. You can't choose two. So the answer is going to be over there. The question is going to be over there. So which one should I take if it's one? Or should I do both anyway? What should I do? I don't know. We'll see. We're going to get the examples. יש דרך שהיא דרך ישרה. There is a straight way. ויש דרך שהיא דרך קלטון. And then there's a crooked way. ועל זה שואלת המשנה, מהי הדרך הישרה? And on this, the Mishnah is going to ask, what is the straight way? When you have two Torah options, which ones do you have to take? Let's see. כדלהלן, like we're going to mention now. באופן כללי, ישנם שתי דרכים בעבודת השם. In general, there's two ways to serve God. Every person in this world serves God in two ways. Let's see what the two is. Avodah im atzmo. The first way is, we call it become a mensch, become a human being, refine yourself, be better, do better, elevate. Transcend the physical world. Work on yourself. Yeah? We all know this kind of work. That's service of God, right? I want to be lazy and do nothing, but no, I'm going to elevate myself. I'm going to become a mensch. I'm going to become something better. Avodah im atzmo, this is called service with himself. Ha'adam yoshev velomed Torah le'atzmo. You sit down and if you're a scientist, you think about science. You learn. If you're a Jew, you learn about Torah. You sit down and learn Torah. You know what God wants out of you. Right? That's one way. But who is the main beneficiary over here when you sit down and learn Torah? You. It's for you. You're the main beneficiary. ולא אכפת לו מהזולת. When you're learning Torah, do you care if the other guy over there is learning Torah? No, it's for me. I want to understand. The other guy, maybe later, I'll try to explain something, but right now when I learn Torah, it's I want to understand. אלא שבכדי שלתורה שהוא לומד יהיה קיום ולא יתקיים בו נאמר. But then the guy thinking, you know what? God tells me in the Torah that if somebody who just learns Torah without caring about another person, that another person knows, his Torah learning is not called Torah learning. Therefore, the only reason I will teach the other guy is what? That my Torah learning will be true. That's why I want to teach the other guy. But not because I really want to teach him. The reason why I want to teach him is because otherwise my Torah learning is not called Torah learning. So in other words, he does deal with the other person. But why does he deal with the other person? It's not his purpose. His main purpose is what? Learning Torah. Because he wants his learning Torah to be effective, to be the way God said learning Torah is, which means caring also about another person, therefore he also goes and teaches another person. That's the first way. Okay? וזאת דרך היא תפארת לעושיה בעלי תורה. And all those people, all those great sages you've heard about, Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai, all these people learned Torah. That was the main aspect. Moshe Rabbeinu, what was his main aspect? Torah. Brought down Torah. Who dealt with the congregation? Wasn't him. It was Aaron, his brother. Right? Aaron was the one to make peace between husband and wife, between friends and friends. That's why it says when Moses passed away, they only mourned for a week. When Aaron passed away, they mourned for a whole month. Because he was involved with the people. Moshe was aloof. He was to himself. He was up on the mountain while we were all down there. And even after he came back from the mountain, he didn't hang around the people. They didn't know. He was in the tent, talking to God. He wasn't one of us. He was aloof. He was distant. He was to himself. Of course, when he needed to save the nation, he had to save the nation, because otherwise there's no Torah. Right? But the main part is Torah. You can see that, right? Next. And then there's the other type of people. Avodat be'ikar im hazulat. That they work, specifically the main work is with other people. What does it mean? Omnam yesh lo gam kviut itim laTorah. It's true. That person learns Torah. And he learns Torah, it might be for many hours every day. Al pi Shulchan Aruch, according to Shulchan Aruch, he needs to have time to learn Torah. Ach ikar avodato hi bigmut chasadim, but the main part in his life is to do kindness with other people. That's what he's concentrating on. ודרך זה היא תפארת לו מן האדם בעלי מעשים טובים. And then who praises this guy? The other people. And we can see this again with Moshe and Aaron. People felt closer to Aaron than they felt to Moshe. Moshe was the Torah. Aaron was the deeds. You can see the two things. Let's continue. Page number 4. שתי הדרכים הם על פי התורה. So the question is going to be asked. So we have two paths now. Learn Torah, and since Torah without influencing the Jewish people means nothing, so therefore you're also going to do kindness. Teach the Torah. That's one thing. Or your main thing is to help other people, right? That's the main thing, to help other people, but you also learn Torah. Because it's important to learn Torah. This is the two paths. So which path should you choose? Both? Both of them are both. Like between both of them are both, right? Both of them you do both.
It depends on the person.
So you say you can choose. So the Rabbi comes and he says no. Between these two paths, you have to take the middle path. Not this one and not this one. This path is wrong and this path is wrong. He says, what do you mean this path is wrong and this path is wrong? They both say both. How can they both be wrong? So let's see. שתי הדרכים הם על פי התורה. Both these ways הם according to Torah. כפי שכתוב, like it's written, ושמרו דרך השם, you should say, keep the path of God, לעשות צדקה ומשפט, to perform righteousness and justice. שגם צדקה, that also charity, which is mitzvahs, וגם משפט, and also justice, which means Torah. הם דרך השם. So both commandments, which means influencing that other person, and learning Torah, both of them are important, and they're so important that the both of them require the other one also. Okay? So let's see. We're going to see amongst the sages these two types. Amongst the sages, we have the two types. Not just by Moshe and Aaron, the example I gave, but the sages themselves. You're going to see, look at the sages. Some sages go this way, some sages go this way. דוגמה לשני ההנהגות הללו מוצאים אנו גם אצל התנאים. We're going to find by the sages an example for this. Well, Ben Azai, there was a sage, very famous one. His name was called the son of Azai. עיקר עניינו היה תורה. If you ask amongst the sages, what does he symbolize? Everybody looks at him and says, you know what this guy symbolizes? That's what he does. He learns Torah. That's what he does. He is a Torah learner. That's who he is. כפי שהוא אמר, נפשי חשקה בתורה. And we're going to see later on that he said, my soul is thirsty for godliness, for Torah. That's what I want. That's who I am. I'm a learner. I'm a godly learner. That's what I do. I sit down and I learn about God. ומלאכתו נעשית על ידי אחרים. And what happened? And we can see that all the work that needs to be done in his life, I know, he was able to. He sat down and learned, and God took care of him. Somebody else gave him money. He was able to do whatever he wanted to do. וכמו כן, and similar, רבי שמעון בר יוחאי, הייתה תורתו אומנותו. We have the same thing with Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, was 14 years in a cave, had no connection to any other human beings. By the way, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai did not daven. He davened once a week or once a month. Why? Because his Torah learning was so important, more than davening, which we're not allowed to. The idea behind it, Torah learning is more important than prayer. The only reason why we are allowed, we have to pray 3 times a day, is because we waste time anyway on other things. So stop wasting time on other things. But if you were only a Torah learner on the way of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, it's questionable where you're allowed to stop Torah learning for prayer. Yeah? So this is Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai and Ben Azai. What was the idea? They sit down and learn Torah. That was their life. That's who they were. ובמילא עיקר עסקו היה בתורה. And he's mainly devoted his life to Torah. That doesn't mean he didn't do mitzvah. Mitzvahs were required, and he had to do them. But his main thing was Torah. So let's look. This is from Talmud Yevamot. We're going to look at the source, and we're going to see something very strange about the sages. Tanya, Rabbi Eliezer Omer, says Rabbi Eliezer said, כל מי שאין עוסק בפריה וריביה, any person who's not busy bringing children into this world, you know how today in America nobody wants to have children. It's a whole thing by America. There's a whole new movement. I forgot what the name is, but it's married with no children. Something like the idea. But he says, anybody who's not bringing children into this world, כאילו שופך דמים. It's as if he's a murderer. That's how severe he looks at him. He says, you have the opportunity to bring children. You didn't bring children. Who are you? You're a murderer. By the way, we're not going to discuss it, but just something to think about. The commandment to bring children is you have to bring at least a boy and a girl. That's a commandment. Moshe Rabbeinu had 2 boys. Moshe Rabbeinu divorced his wife after how many? After 2 boys. When Aaron and Miriam came over to Moshe Rabbeinu and scolded him and told him, what are you doing? It's against the Torah. The Torah has to say, be fruitful and multiply. And what are you doing? Divorcing your wife? Right? Now we understand the problem with him. Then we understand how can Miriam and Aaron actually came and admonished Moshe. They were wrong because obviously Moshe was taught by God to divorce his wife. But that's another thing. But you can see the severity. Moshe did not bring children into this world. He wasn't busy being fruitful and multiply. It's a big problem. So over here, Rabbi Eliezer says, you know what Moshe is considered to be like? Like a murderer. He has a potential to bring life into this world, and he's not bringing this life. What is he doing? Rabbi Yaakov takes it further on. It says, we are made in the image of God, and every human being that is created on this earth becomes godliness, an image of godliness down over here on earth. So what are you doing? It is as if you're taking the image of God away from earth. You're not bringing it down. Every child that is born in the image of God. So a person who's not bringing a child into this world, you're not bringing the image of God down to earth. That's the second thing. And look at the third one. This is going to be an interesting one. Ben Azai said both. So there's 2 opinions. Ben Azai say it's not this one nor this one. You're doing both problems. כאילו שופך דמים, as it is if you're a murderer, because you're not bringing life. That's potential life. וממעט הדמות של הקדוש ברוך הוא, and you're not bringing God into this world. He says both. Now I'm going to אמרו לו לבן עזאי, they said to Ben Azai. So the people, the sages now, after this Azai made a statement, the sages came to Ben Azai and they said to Ben Azai this, יש נאה דורש ונאה מקיים. We know some people who gives good speeches and then who keep it. Who do what they say, who do what they preach. נאה מקיים ואין נאה דורש. And there are those people who do, and they don't know how to give speech, but they do. They're doers. ואתה, but you, Ben Azai, נאה דורש, you give good speeches, ואין נאה מקיים, but you don't keep them. It says, why are they saying this about Ben Azai? Because Ben Azai didn't get married. Some say he got married and immediately divorced because they saw it takes him away from Torah. Some say he never got married. So in other words, you're bringing all these examples and you're saying, and you never get married? And then you say somebody who doesn't get married is what? It's like a murderer, and it's like someone who doesn't want God's presence to be over here on earth. And you say it's both. So you give nice speeches, but you don't do. That's my wife tells me all the time. Okay? Amar lahem Ben Azai, and then we see Ben Azai has a very funny answer to them. Ben Azai answers them, Uma yaseh shenafshi cheshka b'Torah. It says, I have no, what should I do? My soul is yearning for Torah. אפשר לעולם שיתקיים על ידי אחרים. It is possible that the world is going to exist because other people. It says, who says that I have to do the work? That other guy is going to give an extra kid. That other guy is going to give an extra kid. It's going to be this. Who says? For me, my thing is what? My thing is Torah. That's my thing in this world. Okay? This is בן עזאי. ועל דרך זה בקצה השני. And we find on the same example on the other path. כידוע מה שהאדמו"ר הזקן כותב, just like what the Alter Rebbe writes, שמוצאים בש"ס. So this is one type of a sage. A sage like Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. 14 years in a cave, doesn't do any commandments. Think about it. He didn't do any commandments for 14 years. Sitting and learning Torah. There's no other people around to help, even if he wanted to. You can say he was forced, the Romans were after him, whatever they say. Yeah, Moshe Rabbeinu doesn't do be fruitful and multiply. Ben Azai, only Torah. Yeah? And then Alter Rebbe says, Shemotzim b'shas, we find in the Gemara, רק מאמרים הלכתיים ספורים בשם רבי חנינא בן דוסה. We have a sage, his name was Chanina ben Dosa. And Chanina ben Dosa, there's a lot of stories about him in the Gemara. But when people are discussing, yes, no, pure, not pure, it's never mentioned. Hundreds of stories about him. But when it comes to arguments, you know, Rabbi Chanina was this, Rabbi Akiva was, no, we don't find Rabbi Chanina ben Dosa. When it comes to learning Torah, all the stories about Chanina ben Dosa is about what he used to do. Acts that he used to take place. He used to go hunt, he used to go this, he used to hide, he used to write Sefer Torahs, he used to give it to the kids, he used to teach them. A lot, whatever story, hundreds of stories you'll find. But never, when in the discussion, you know, Rabbi Akiva said, Rabbi Shimon said, Rabbi Chanina doesn't appear. אך סיפורים עליו מוצאים הרבה, but stories, full of stories. Why? משום שהוא היה מבעלי מעשים טובים. Because what did he do? He did good deeds. וכמו כן רבי חייא, and Rabbi Chiya was the same thing. You wouldn't find a lot of arguments with Rabbi Chiya in the Gemara, but you find a lot of stories about him. שעליו אומרת הגמרא, the Gemara says, את הלשון, כמה גדולים מעשי חייא. It says, how great are the deeds of Rabbi Chiya. Over there you see these sages, the Torah emphasize acts. So we find there's two types of sages over here in this world. There's sages that completely emphasize Torah, and the sages that completely emphasize acts of kindness, teaching kids, being involved in the community, doing everything like this. Right? And now the question comes, you as a Jew, which path should you take? Can you say that Moshe was wrong? Can you say that Ben Azai was wrong? Can you say that Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai went off the path? No. But you can't say that Rabbi Chiya and Rabbi Chanina ben Dosa are not off the path either, even though they're not known as great scholars. So let's look at a special thing about this Chanina ben Dosa. אמרו עליו על רבי חנינא בן דוסה, they said on רבי חנינא בן דוסה, כשהיה מתפלל על החולים, רבי חנינא בן דוסה, his entire life he used to take care of people. That's what his life was about. You know, if somebody was sick, the first guy to start saying Tehillim for him was who? חנינא בן דוסה. כשהיה מתפלל על החולים, and he used to daven on sick people, ואומר, and as he used to daven, they told him, this person is sick, and he used to say prayer for him immediately, and immediately he will tell the person who came with the news, זה חי וזה מת. This one is going to die, this one is going to live. As soon as he said something, as soon as he said the prayer, אמרו לו, מניין אתה יודע? They asked him, how do you know? What are you, God? What are you, prophet? How do you know? How do you know if this guy is going to live, this guy is going to die? Amar lahem, so he told them, Im shgurat tfilati befiv, says if my prayer comes out flowing, if the prayer flows out of my mouth, yodeh ani shu mekubal. I know that God accepts my prayer. I know that God wants the prayer. Ve'im lav, but if I start, stuttering, I can bring my words out. Yodeh ani shu metoraf. I know that's it. It's too late. It's gone. In other words, if I can say the words, God is listening. If the words don't come out, I know it's a problem over there. He's not going to make it. Another thing about Hanina ben Dosa that we're going to see, Tanu Rabbanan, the rabbi says, Maaseh b'makom echad she'aya arvad. There was a occasion in one place that there was a snake. והיה מזיק את הבריות, and this snake already bit many people. It was running around biting people. באו והודיעו לו לרבי חנינא בן דוסה. They came and they told Rabbi Hanina ben Dosa, imagine there's a snake in the neighborhood and you call Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, right? Or you call Moshe. So Moshe, excuse me, I've got nothing to do. Go call a snake guy. What are you calling me for? Right? But look at the behavior. If any Jew is in town, there's a snake guy, there's a dog going on. Rabbi Chaim said, guys, don't worry, I'll have to go take care of it. There's garbage over there. Guys, don't worry, I'll clean it. What do you mean? It's a sage. You noticing how strange it is? והודיעו לו לרבי חנינא בן דוסה. So they told Rabbi Hanina ben Dosa. אמר להם, he said to them, הראו לי את חורו. It says, where's the hole that the snake went into? הראו את חורו. They told him, this is the pit. נתן עקבו על פי החור. He put his heel and he closed the hole. יצא ונשכו. The snake came out and he beat him on his heel. ומת אותו ערבד. And that snake died. The snake died, not he died. נטלו על כתפו, it was a big snake, so he took him on his shoulder, והביאו לבית המדרש, and he brought him, the snake, into the yeshiva. אמר להם, he told the students, in other words, when you guys were staying over here, you know what I was doing? I was killing snakes. So, just think what's going on over. אמר להם, ראו בניי, it says, look, my children, אין ערבד ממית. He says, the snake doesn't kill. Snakes don't kill. Everything is divine providence. אלא החטא ממית. It's the sin that kills. The reason the guy got bit is why? Is because he sinned. You know how what's the name? Of the Iranian president who just went down with his helicopter? You know? The Iranian president just died. He went down in his helicopter. So you can say, yeah, he deserved death. That's why I killed him. But the question is, what about all the guys, the 20 other guys were in the helicopter? He says they deserve death too. That's why God made them be on that helicopter at that time. Yeah. באותה שעה אמרו, at that time the students said, אוי לו לאדם שפגע בו ועורבד. It says, oh, so a person with a snake bit, it means he has a problem, he's a sinner. ואוי לו לערבד שפגע בו רבי חנינא בן דוסה. But the poor snake, yeah, that Rabbi Hanina was his medicine. So in other words, what the snake is to man, Rabbi Hanina is to the evil inclination. Right? What the snake is to man, he does God's work. In other words, he punishes for a sin. Rabbi Hanina destroys the evil inclination, which is symbolized by the snake. Okay? We're not going to go so deep into this right now. Amar Rav Pinchas. Again, another story about Hanina ben Dosa. Just to understand what's going on over here. This is a sage? It doesn't sound like a sage. Amar Rav Pinchas. Rav Pinchas tells another story about Rabbi Hanina ben Dosa. מעשה ועבר אדם אחד על פתח ביתו, והניח שם תרנגולים. There was one guy who went by on the path next to Rabbi Hanina ben Dosa's house, and he forgot 2 chickens, or a couple of chickens he forgot. ומצאן אשתו של רבי חנינא בן דוסה. And the wife of Rabbi Hanina ben Dosa found the chickens. Now, what do you have to do when you find a chicken? Keep it until the guy comes. But, you know, if it's, for example, a blanket, you keep it in the storage until the guy comes and gives you, I say, I lost the blanket, you ask him what did it look like, he gives you the right signs and you give it back. But over here it's a chicken. You need to feed it. So there's an answer for that, not a problem. You are allowed to take the chickens, make eggs, sell the eggs, and buy food for the chickens. But you're supposed to keep it until the guy comes back. Most people, what do they do in such an occurrence? They take the chickens, they sell them, they take the money, and they keep the money. And when the guy comes back, say, give me a sign that it was your chicken. He says, yeah, it had a black feather over here and a white feather over there. Okay, that's your chicken. Here, take the money. Right? Because you're not going to keep chickens now forever. But no, Rabbi Hanina ben Dosa is keeping chickens. The guy lost chickens. He wants to give him back chickens. ואמר לה, and Rabbi Hanina ben Dosa said to her, the halacha, the law is that what you need to do, in order to feed these chickens, right? To feed the chickens, you're allowed to sell the eggs. You're allowed to sell the eggs. So, Rabbi Hanina told her, אל תאכלי מביציהם. Don't eat the eggs. Don't sell the eggs. We'll sponsor the feed of the chickens. From our money. We'll give the money for the chickens. והרבו ביצים ותרנגולים. So now he has hundreds and thousands of eggs. And now the eggs are hatching. And he has hundreds of thousands of chicken now. So 2 chickens were left. Now he has 20,000 chickens already. He doesn't know what to do with them already. Yeah? והיו מצערים אותם. So now he's got 20,000 chickens. So instead of learning Torah, what is he doing all day long? This Rabbi Hanina ben Dosa. He's taking care. He became a chicken farmer. The sage, Rabbi Hanina ben Dosa, is a chicken farmer now. That's what he is. He couldn't take it anymore. Even he had too much work. He couldn't do it. So what did he do? ומחרם וקנה בדמיהם עזים. So he sold the chickens. He says, you know what? It's easier with goats because goats can go and they can graze by themselves. Can just pay for a shepherd and that's it. So he sold all the chickens and he bought goats. פעם אחת עבר אותו אדם שעבדו ממנו תרנגולים ואמר לחברו, one time that person who forgot his 2 chickens 2 years ago passed by and he told his friend, בכאן הנחתי התרנגולים שלי. He said, over here, I think I lost them. Right over here. שמע רבי חנינא heard him say that. אמר לו, יש לך בהם סימן? It says, you have a sign that you can tell me? אמר לו, הן? He says, yeah. נתן לו סימן, he gave him the sign. He says, the chicken looked like this and like this. ונטל את העזים. And what? And he took all the goats. In other words, the guy left 2 chickens, and now he's taking 20,000 goats. And who worked for 2 years or whatever until the guy came back? Who worked all this time for free? Rabbi Hanina ben Dosa. Instead of learning Torah, what is he doing? He became a chicken guy, he became a shepherd. He's taking care of the things. That's a sage. See the 2 extremes in the sages? 2 extremes. הקונפליקט הזה כבר היה בסיפור המרגלים. And we have the same story again with the story of the spies.
The word conflict?
Yeah.
Literally this.
No, it's you don't say it in Hebrew this way. They took an English word and they put it in. It's an English. It's a modern English vernacular. It's not the word. You will not find it in anything older than 100 years old. It's just modern. כפי שידוע הביאור, like it's known the explanation. חטא המרגלים. What was the sin of the spies? What was their problems? Why didn't they want to go into the land? What was so bad about getting the land? היה שהם רצו להישאר במדבר וללמוד תורה. It says they wanted to stay in the desert because what did they do in the desert all day long? They learned Torah. Morning to night. That's what they did. Who worked? No one worked. God gave them food. God gave them clothing. God gave them water. Nobody worked. They sat down and they learned Torah. They were all who? They were all Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. They were all Ben Azai. They were all this guy. וטענו, and they said, שארץ אוכלת יושביה היא, that the land eats its inhabitants. What does it mean it eats its inhabitants? The land of Israel eats its inhabitants. It says, once we go into the land, we won't be able to do what?
Study.
Why won't we be able to study?
Consumed by earthly.
Excellent. Consumed by... The Jews became farmers in the land of Israel. You know what a farmer does? He worked from morning to night. He says, who is going to have time to learn Torah? We don't want it. We don't want to go into the land to become a farmer. We want to do what? To learn Torah. Am Yisrael Ivala Begelrei says the nation is going to be swallowed by the land. וכבר לא יוכלו ללמוד תורה. They will not be able to learn Torah. כפי שלמדו קודם, the way they learned before. Yes, maybe they will learn Torah. Half an hour over here, 1 hour over there. But the main part of the farmer, what does he do? It's 12 hours a day of learning Torah, maybe 1.5 hours of, 12 hours walking the land, maybe 1.5 hours of learning Torah. הם טענו שבלתי אפשר שיהיו קווים יחד. It says, you can't be a Torah learner and a farmer at the same time. Choose. You have to, in English it says you have to, what's the word? You have to become an expert in one field. You have to, how do you call it in English? You know what I'm trying to say? You have to specialize. Either you're a Torah learner or you're a farmer. If you're going to be a Torah learner and a farmer, you're neither here nor there. You lose both things. You can't. You're not a farmer and you're a Torah learner. You can't be both. Torah mitzvot, ela o kav Torah b'midbar. So they wanted either to be a Torah scholar in the desert or kav mitzvot ba'aretz, or mitzvahs in the land. והם רצו להישאר במדבר ולעסוק בתורה. And they preferred to stay in the desert, to do Torah. נשאלת איפה שאלה, so now we're going to understand the question. If we have these two types, page 7, if we have these two type of sages, which sage should we choose? We have Rabbi Hanina ben Dosa, that's one extreme, and we have Ben Azai on the other extreme. So the Gemara is asking the both sages, they're Moshe Rabbeinu and Aaron, and you want to become a good Jew. So the other one, the question is, who should you emulate? Should you emulate Rabbi Hanina ben Dosa? Or should you emulate Ben Azai? He says you have to choose. You can't do both. Because if you do both, you'll have neither. That's what you would think. So נשאלת איפה השאלה, so the question comes, איזו דרך ישרה שיבוא לו אדם, which path is the correct path? מהי הדרך המעודפת מבין השתיים? What's the correct way from both these ways? עבודה עם עצמו, work with himself, Torah learning and davening, או עבודה עם הזולת, or like Rabbi Ram ben Dosa, work with the nation, clean the garbage, raise chickens, raise goats. מחדש רבנו במשנתנו, so the Mishnah, according to Rabbi, teaches us this, כי הדרך הרצויה שיבואו לו אדם, that the right way that the person is going to take, כל שהיא תפארת לעושיה, it has to benefit oneself. In other words, you have to do Ben Azai's work, ותפארת לו מן האדם. But you also have to do Rabbi Hanina's ben Dosa work. In other words, you thought that you cannot specialize. Absolutely, that's the way. To specialize in both all the time. That's what you have to do. And a person is going to tell you, you won't be able to. The Torah tells you, Rabbi tells you on the contrary. One will help the other. You would think that one is going to take away from the other. It says your Torah learning is going to be greater Torah learning because you're involved with human beings. And the opposite also is true. דהיינו שעל האדם לעסוק בשתי הדרכים בשלמות, לבל תבוא האחת על חשבון אחרת. It says a person has to do both things, both 100% and both all the time. Not to choose one path or another. Each and every one of us, by the way, is naturally inclined to one more than the other. You can see it in yourself. Every person is inclined to do one more than the other. That if you really want to do the right thing, do the one you're less inclined to do, more than usual. Because you will not want to do it anyway. So that's how you know that that's the one you should do a little bit more than the other one. But you should do both. I'll tell you a story just to end this. There was a scientist, Rabbi Green, who used to be with the Rebbe, and he used to write to the Rebbe back and forth. He became religious during the time. And he wrote to the Rebbe that he wanted to leave his university. He was working for NASA, working as a professor in one of the universities, and he wanted to leave the university and to dedicate his life for Torah learning. And the Rebbe absolutely did not let him. It says, no, the children should see that there's a religious professor. You know, it gives an impression in such an institution that Jewish kids come and see that there's a big scientist that works in NASA and all these things, and he's also a religious person. It says he absolutely didn't give him permission. So he had to work full time, pretty much, as a professor and as an advisor in NASA. You can imagine how many hours a week. And the Rebbe constantly demanded for him to learn this and to learn that, to learn this, to learn that. So he came to the Rebbe and he told the Rebbe, look, this is what I have to choose. I can't, I have to choose. There's not enough hours in the day. So the Rebbe smiled at him, and the Rebbe told him, I know that you expect me to take one of the things away, but not only I'm not going to take it away, I will tell you to increase in both. And this is the way of the Rebbe. This is what Rebbe said. This is our job. To do both job. Rabbi Chanina ben Dosa and Ben Azai. Learn Torah like crazy and be involved in the community like crazy. That's the job of a Jew. It's not easy, but that's our job.